Hello there, world of tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the WZ-116F3, a Tier 10 Chinese collector heavy that will be entering World of Tanks Blitz within the next few months, as it's already in test. Yes, I know I'm logged into World of Tanks PC. I figured you guys should get an HD view of what this vehicle looks like before we break into the statistics and armor of what it's going to be in Blitz. Now, for some weird reason, Wargaming likes taking autoloaders that exist on World of Tanks, bringing them over to Blitz, and then removing the autoloader. We have seen this numerous times. The VZ55 is an autoloader on PC, and guess what? It's a single shot in Blitz. And we've also seen that for vehicles like the Caliban. It's a double shot auto reloader on PC. It's a single shot tank in Blitz. And there's a lot of other examples. The Cobra is obviously a notoriously dangerous autoloader on PC. It's a single shot in Blitz. It's a little weird when Wargaming does that because a lot of these tanks are known for being autoloaders and then they take away that major characteristic, which sometimes works well, but it doesn't seem to have worked great in the case of the VZ55, as the tank's just rather mediocre for the majority of players, and the Cobra, while very fun, definitely would have been more interesting with an autoloading gun. But we are here to talk about the 116F3, which is also an autoloader on World of Tanks PC. It features a 3-shell gun with 530 damage per shot. Now in Blitz, that's more equivalent to about 460 alpha. Well, I got bad news if you thought this was going to be an autoloader, because it's not going to be. This is going to be a single shot heavy, but it does have a pretty beefy alpha of 490, which makes it quite substantial, especially even compared to that of an IS-7 or an AIM-X M4. So alpha-wise, this tank is going to slap. Before we continue breaking into the statistics of this vehicle, I do want to mention that this tank is obviously in testing, so it is possibly subject to change. We will most likely see some sort of changes to either the armor or maybe the DPM, something along those lines. Usually, though, when tanks are in test, they are released similar to the state they were in testing. 90 to 80% of the vehicles usually stay very similar. So we are going to see just exactly what this tank has going for us, starting off with the gun, moving over to the maneuverability, and finishing off with the armor. So what are we looking at for the gun? Well, I am running calibrated. You could run rammer and get 2,600 DPM, but let's be honest, rammer got nerfed quite hard and calibrated got a huge buff. So if you're running rammer, I don't know what to tell you. This tank has 2,460 DPM, which isn't anything good, but it's also not bad. It's just fairly average for the heavy category. It's the same as a vehicle like the VZ55 or the IS-7, the BZ-75 at the 130 mil, so pretty average in that type of situation. But pen-wise, very good, 283 on the standard, and the gold has a very nice 384, so you're not going to struggle at all to cut through your opponents, which is really nice. It also deals a lot of HE damage, 630. That's because this is a 130 millimeter with 80 mils of pen. This is going to be quite a nasty tank. If you have the side of mediums like a Leopard or an AIM-X 30B, you can get out some big old juicer HEs. One thing that I did notice is that this thing loses a lot of damage on loading heat, going from 490 to 410. That is an 80 damage drop off. You definitely want to keep that in mind. You know, if you shoot just a couple heat shells, you're losing literally hundreds of damage that you might have had firing AP. So do try to refrain from loading heat in this tank, and that goes for any tank obviously, but this one has a big damage drop off when loading gold. Gun depression wise, this tank is sitting at 6 degrees, as we can see. That's pretty dang poor. Gun elevation is alright, but yeah, 6 degrees of gun depression is going to make this vehicle very, very tricky to work on the majority of ridge lines. Not awful, because it's not the largest vehicle, but still going to be a little annoying. And by the way, holy bad dispersion. I mean, the vehicle's odd move is very good. It's 0.117, so realistically, you're going to be putting on refined gun, and you're going to be looking at 0.14 on move, which is okay, but I don't know. That on move still isn't amazing, and it's hard. It's really hard to tell because this tank's base dispersion is trash. 0.398 is literally some of the worst dispersion I've ever seen, especially for only 490 alpha. So you might have to run refined to get 0.34. you're going to make your on-move a bit worse, but I don't know. That is not a good gun value. That is awful. I'm really hoping Wargaming buffs the dispersion down to maybe 0.36, 0.37. At least then you might be able to get away with running V-stabs and not having to worry about your on-move at the same time. Maneuverability-wise, this tank features a top speed of 42 and a reverse of 15, with a power to weight of 13.9 on hard terrain and a power to weight of 10 on medium. That power to weight is pretty awful. I'm going to be real. It's not the worst, but it's not good by any means. That is a very bad power to weight. The T110 E3 is sitting at a power to weight of around 9, so that's a good example. The E3 is only about 10% slower on acceleration. Yeah, so if the tank stays the way it currently is on mobility, it's going to be pretty slow to accelerating, but at least it has a decent top speed, and at least its reverse speed isn't the worst thing ever. The vehicle's traverse speed is also pretty freaking awful. Holy bad. 26 degrees of traverse on medium terrain. That might be the worst traverse I've seen for a heavy in a while. That's literally like mouse levels of traverse speed. Holy. So yeah, this tank, while it does seem to hit hard, and while it has very good pen, appears to be incredibly immobile. It's not able to turn for the life of it. Even running improved control, which gives you better traverse speed, it's still only going 27.6. That's pretty bad. Hit points wise, it's got 2,450. That means if you are running the HP buff, you can get to 2,548, but it's still not that much HP. It's alright. And camouflage is pretty dang awful. I mean, sitting still it's okay, but the rest are pretty bad. So that is the overall statistics of this vehicle. Now, you might be saying to yourself, okay, so the gun's pretty mediocre because of its awful dispersion, and the mobility's pretty tragic, and its gun depression isn't very good. It must have really good armor, right? Well, no, not really. Actually, the armor is the most disappointing part. The turret cheeks are only 206. You know, the regressor, the tier 9 50 TP knockoff? Well, that tank has basically the same weak spots. Using this vehicle fully hauled down, it doesn't matter because these turret cheeks are 190. They're actually weaker because of the way the vehicle's angled. If Wargaming simply removed these little cutouts here, the tank would be great. But look at this! What is this armor, Wargaming? This isn't even running calibrated. This is without Cali. This is the tank start with Cali. Bro, this is not real. Wargaming thinks that this is going to be a balanced tank. Really? This looks awful. Literally mediums with 330 mils of heat are going to pen this. And if you don't believe me, let's go get out any medium tank. Let's go over to mediums. Let's get out a T62A. This is what a 62A sees with loading heat haul down. I mean, that's awful. That is actually atrocious. This tank has no mobility. It has awful accuracy, mediocre DPM, and no armor. I don't even get it. Like, the upper plate's strong, okay, sure. And the turret does have some spots where you will bounce it, and it has basically no hatch, but who cares when you just load gold and the entire turret's green? And not only that, but the lower plate's only 120. Like, the lower plate's awful. The side armor is tragic as well. As we can see, it's not very good at side scraping. The rear armor is pretty bad. It's only 70 mils thick. I mean, I don't know what Wargaming was cooking here, but clearly it's not a tasty meal. I am testing right now, and I haven't played the tank yet, which is good because it's not influencing my opinions. I'm not biased towards anything, but I can tell you just from looking at the statistics of this vehicle and the armor that this thing is going to be dookie balls in its current state. If Wargaming wants to make it decent, all they need to do is buff the turret to a point where these little spots here are red, and the turret is red for the most part when loading gold here. This needs to be like 340 thick. This needs to be maybe 320. I don't mind if the turret has weak spots. Every tank should have weaknesses, but you also shouldn't give it awful mobility and an awful gun if you're going to give it awful armor at the same time. I mean, this is not what I call good armor by any means necessary. It's pretty disappointing, I'm not going to lie. I mean, you can literally get out a medium like a 121B, and this tank haul down has just stronger turret armor for the most part. I mean, that's pretty sad, so I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the 116 F3, but personally, I think the vehicle is rather disappointing. I think Wargaming could have done a much better job balancing it, but it's not released yet, so I have a feeling it's going to get buffed, but that's my personal opinion. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.